All right. Have had a few students ask me with the sum and difference identities, how do I know if I'm adding or subtracting, or what's part's positive, what's part's negative? So I want to lay that out and just kind of go through that specifically here. Really the answer is it depends on what the equation tells you to do. Okay, so I have my four identities. Okay, one for cosine with a minus. Okay, that's the difference. One with a cosine with a plus, sine with a plus, sine with a minus. Okay, and they all lay it out for you here. I like to break these four down into two different identities though, kind of less to memorize, less to deal with, I guess. And the way I've got this set up is, notice cosine of u plus or minus v is equal to the cosine of u times the cosine of v, and then I have a minus plus. Okay, if it's a plus minus here and a minus plus here, that just means that these two signs are going to be opposites at all times. Then sine u, sine v. Okay, notice with the sine, it's a different pattern. Sine u plus or minus v is equal to sine u times cosine v plus minus again. Since these are both plus minuses, I know those signs in between are going to be the same. And then cosine u, cosine v. Okay, let's give you some examples here. And these are all going to deal with 45s and 30s. I think, yep. So here's how we're going to do this. Cosine 75. Okay, the way to make a 75 using the angles of my special right triangle is just 45 plus 30. So we'll call this cosine of 45 degrees plus 30 degrees. Now, as far as what I'm going to do with my pattern, since I'm talking cosine, I'm going to use this cosine, cosine, sine, sine pattern. So we'll say cosine 45 times cosine 30. And then again, here, since it's plus, minus, minus, plus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the opposite sign right here as I have within my parentheses. So we'll say minus sine 45 sine 30. Okay, I can evaluate then from then using my special right triangles. I can figure out what each of these different trig expressions evaluate to. Again, the thing I want to answer is, why is this a minus? Well, it's because the equation tells us so. Let's do the same thing with a minus. We can write 15 degrees as 45 minus 30. So I'm going to say this is a cosine of 45 minus 30, which would be equal to a cosine 45 times cosine 30. And then again, since with the cosine equation it's plus, minus, minus, plus, that just means we're going to switch the sign. We'll say plus. Since I have the minus here, we'll put a plus in between here, sine 45 sine 30. Okay, so that's why it's the minus plus in this case. Okay, let's do the same thing with the sine real quick. We're using sine of 75, sorry, so I can rewrite that as sine of 45 plus 30, just like I did for the cosine. And now with the sine, we have a different pattern. It's sine, cosine, sine u, cosine u. So I'm going to use first angle, second angle. So sine 45 times cosine 30. And then again, since the sign is plus, minus, plus, minus, that means I'm going to use the same sign I have in my parentheses, the plus. So we'll say plus, and then following that, cosine u, so first angle, sine v, second angle. We'll say cosine 45 sine 30. Okay, I'm going to hide myself here quick and just do that one more time. Same idea, sine 15, just like with cosine 15, we can write that as 45 minus 30. So in other words, sine of 45 times cosine 30. And then again, that's the same sign, plus, minus, so minus cosine 45 times sine 30. All right, then going backwards in the other direction, I can do the same thing. Okay, I want to put these together to turn them into a single sine or cosine ratio. Here, well, notice first off, I've got cosine, cosine, sine, sine. So I know that's my cosine pattern. So I'm going to have these two angles, the 20 and the 40. And the question is what sign do I put between them? Well, there's a plus between the cosine, cosine, sine, sine. Again, with this equation, it's plus, minus, minus, plus. That means I'll do the opposite of the plus. we'll throw the negative there. So in other words, this is equal to, whoops, I didn't give you one you could evaluate by hand. We could say cosine of negative 20. Can't do anything with that, but that's how you'd put it together. Okay, this one will work. Same idea with the sine. I know it's the sine equation because it's sine, cosine, cosine, sine pattern. So we'll say sine of our first angle 20, second angle 40. Now since it's plus here and the sine formula is plus minus, we're talking same sign. That's why it's the plus. So in other words, we have a sine of 60, which we could evaluate. Okay, so that would be a good question for a test. That one wouldn't. Okay, but you can still put it together and simplify it. Okay, hopefully that helps. Let me know if it doesn't.